I find it somewhat surprising that I'm rarely ever asked about my table saw. I have a somewhat small workshop garage, as you can see, and I've had to make concessions for it. And so I would like to talk about this table saw setup. This is not an outright advertisement. I am not endorsing this product or any product for that matter. I don't have any sponsors at the moment. But I do think that how I've managed to deal with such a small space using a contractor saw might be interesting and useful to some people. Maybe some of you will be able to make similar adaptations. I do hope in the not too distant future to move and to have a more permanent floor model table saw, but it's pretty impressive what you can actually use a contractor saw for. So let me tell you a little bit about this. This is the model that I'm using, and this is the stand that I'm using. I bought this probably around 8, 9, 10 years ago. I can't remember. But I have prior experience with the same model, which is why I bought it. That is not explicitly an endorsement for this model. That is simply anecdotal. In my limited experience, I ran one of these guys through hell and it survived. So I bought one. There are flaws with it, but I've learned to overcome them. And I've made plenty of modifications to it to better suit my personal needs. Probably the most obvious and apparent space saver is the fact that this doubles as a work table. Now, because this stand really wasn't designed with that in mind, but it is rugged because it's a contractor grade saw, I use one of these to kind of supplement its strength, and it adds a fair amount of stability. I would much prefer to have something stronger, but this works. Now, sliding it open like that enables me to run rip cuts without having to do too much work. Now, of course, the zero clearance plate is one of the first and best modifications that you can make to your table saw. This will take you into a whole new level of table sawing. If you have one of those more traditional big dado slots on your table saw plate, change it immediately. Waste no time. Stop watching. Go. Change it. I'll wait. So naturally I have a box of plates because I keep them for different angles. And I store them right there. While I have the camera set up here, I would like to point this out. This is a design flaw, and this is the solution. Leverage that's applied to this table extension causes a condition where this isn't supported, the fence hits it. But, c'est la vie, nothing's perfect. This is the stock metal insert that comes with it, which I don't use very often, the occasional dado. This is a 45 degree, 22.5, 15, and 30. Why do you use so many when this will work? Because keeping a tight fit to your blade supports your work in places that just makes it vastly less likely to catch or move or cause any condition that makes you feel unsafe. It's all about comfort, really. If you're comfortable with something, and sorry to once again be a proponent of intuition, but really you do develop a certain intuition for what feels natural and right, and more often than not, if a cut doesn't feel right, if it doesn't seem right, then you should back off. You should find a different way to set up the cut immediately. You will always know, and you will always reflect on near misses or accidents later in a way that I should have known, or I did know. I had a feeling. Intuition works for the most part for little things. That's why we have it. Now, I say the little things because our intuition can be demonstrably false. You know, like in the case of the irrational fear of heights. Well, nobody's afraid to drive fast. Here's the old one. Can you see it? It's kind of battle worn. There are just two perpendicular supports here to keep this plane nice and flat. And I resurfaced the top. This is just particle board with several coats of polyurethane. Now back on the African savanna, 170,000 years ago, those of us who weren't afraid of heights were reckless, endangered ourselves, and fell out of trees. And they were removed from the gene pool. But nobody went fast on the African savanna, so there was no reason to develop a fear of traveling along at 60 miles an hour. I'm using a 10-inch table saw, and I use 7 1/4-inch blades. They're cheaper, they're readily available, they're sharp, they have a thin kerf, they produce less grab, so it makes it easier to handle and safer in the long run. I highly recommend using 7 1/4-inch blades. I also highly recommend keeping some John Heist push sticks right in arm's reach, because this is the best thing that I found, in my opinion. Now I keep my various jigs, fixtures, and table saw accessories under the lathe table, and it is a mess. But none of these are essentials. The one thing that is essential, and I'm sure a lot of people will back me up on this, is under here. It'll probably be a little bit tricky to get this shot, but this thing under here is not just a dust collection bin, even though it functions as such. See how it locks in with this pipe? And then it pops out and collects my sawdust. But this is my table saw sled. How's that? Well, thanks a lot for watching this video, and if you'd like to see how I make a red herring, then click this fish.